Howdy Doody, episode 84 of the Drive-In Podcast is here. Shout out Joey Galloway. This is Dr. O on the horn.
Antonio Brown.
No, Ricky. No. As I was saying, this is Dr. O on the horn. I'm joined by Ricky Flicks. Ricky Flicks, I was never going to say Antonio Brown after what he has done to us as Steelers fans. Yes, there were some good years. The highs were highs, but the lows were lows. But with that being said, Ricky Flicks, how are you doing this evening? How was your weekend?
I had a great weekend, Doc. I had a great weekend in New York City. And on my way back from New York City, it's around like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night. It took a couple hours and a half, 2 hours and a half to get home. And my plan is to go see Morbius at 9:30. You'll go straight there, go see Morbius. Now, I get a text from you when I'm on the road. The text reads, hold on, I got to pull it up. Ricky, it's bad. Like really bad. I'm not sure if you should go see it. Who sent that? None other than Dr. O himself. He sent me that when I'm on my way technically to go see the movie. Did I go see it after that recommendation after a long weekend in New York City? I did not. I did not go see Morbius. So Dr. O, please tell me why I made the right decision to not see this movie.
Ricky, upon seeing Morbius, the hashtag Morbius sweep movement is in full effect on Twitter right now. They need to kill the Sony Marvel universe. It needs to be done. They can't have another movie. It's over.
So no Andrew Garfield coming into the save the day here.
Nope. That's a disservice to have to subject Andrew Garfield to play around in this universe, especially after his stellar performance in No Way Home. It would be criminal if you had Tom Holland be thrown into this universe after seeing this movie. It'd be criminal to introduce Miles Morales into the Sony Marvel universe after seeing this. We thought the DCEU had problems. There's no way they have more problems in the Sony universe here. It needs to die. We're 3 movies in. We have no idea who Spider-Man is in a movie in a universe that is completely centered around Spider-Man. Not only that, but this is the movie that is causing people to question whether superhero movies are going to last. This is the type of movie that has people shaking their head at the superhero movie industry. People that shake their head with the Marvel banner on Morbius. This movie was a complete cash grab. And not only that, as I said before, you felt like there was almost zero to no connection with Spider-Man other than the fact you had the Daily Bugle on the headlines for newspapers. And you have Morbius calling himself Venom once. You barely felt a connection to the Venom universe. And not only that, you are dragging in an iconic Marvel Cinematic Universe villain for a pointless post-credit teaser that makes no sense, that is clearly trying to set up a universe that they don't have a vision for. This universe is worthless. Critically panned through all 3 movies. People make excuses to like these movies because they enjoy reading these characters in the comic books. They love Tom Hardy. There's a cult level fandom for Jared Leto. This movie should have never been released. Never. Everything that was teased in these trailers with Michael Keaton's Adrian Toomes, those scenes are not prevalent in the movie. The Spider-Man, the murderer poster in the trailer, there is no mention of Spider-Man until the very end of this movie, and it makes zero sense. This movie was so bad, the director was exposing the post-credit scene before the movie came out. This is an embarrassment. The CGI was god-awful. Talk about also the cash grab. The violence in this movie was non-existent about a vampire who brutally injures and murders people in the comic books and does so in this movie, but you don't see it. There is no blood in this movie about vampires. The action sequence, as I said, with the CGI, you can't even see him hit people. It's so blurry. It's terrible. The best parts are the slow-mo, and it's basically a still. It's like a photograph taken. There is no good aspect to this movie except for maybe Matt Smith And he doesn't even, and his best scene doesn't even fit in tonally with the rest of this movie. I am jealous, Ricky Flicks, that you did not have to subject yourself to watching this movie. This is the exact reason why people rip on superhero movies like this. And the gall to include a Marvel Cinematic Universe character at the post-credit scene here, Kevin Feige must be throwing a fit. It was embarrassing, Ricky Flex. I could go on for days, but I think I did you a favor.
Okay, so I'm going to play the role as Dr. O and kind of moderate this discussion because I have questions. Because I don't think I'm going to see this movie, especially after that.
It is bad. I'll give you a score at the end. It is so bad.
I will see this movie when it's on streaming or whatever, but I don't think I'm going to pay to see it because of what you're saying. So I think I have to ask some questions here. So Michael Keaton, is he even in the movie?
I'm just going to spoil it. I don't care. Right?
Yeah.
So if you want to skip ahead 10 seconds, whatever. He's in strictly the post-credits, both post-credits.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Now, next question. Matt Smith. I saw a lot of hate online for him. You said you thought he was pretty good.
There is a scene where he's kind of going for it. It tries to fit like the vibe and the tempo of like Venom, Let There Be Carnage, a little bit of zaniness, wackiness to it. He's really feeling himself in that scene. But that scene that I'm talking about, he's kind of like dancing a little bit, getting into that villainous type of mood. I feel like it could have worked if it had the same tone as Venom, Let There Be Carnage. And it was the only sense of like soul in this movie. Jared Leto doesn't really go for it in this movie. He's very average. He's very plain compared to the roles that we've seen him in previously. All obviously not very beloved, but at least like Matt Smith has given you something. He's trying. And I think the dynamic between him and Jared Leto's character actually could have worked, but ultimately fell flat based on some lazy writing too.
It's interesting because Matt Smith in Last Night in Soho, I didn't particularly love. I didn't hate, but I didn't love. Particularly was the writing of the character and the demise of the character, I guess. But it's interesting to hear. Now, something that I haven't seen anything online about is, in my opinion, one of the most underrated actors living today, and that's Jared Harris.
Okay,
he's Chernobyl's lead. If people don't know, he's also what else is he in?
Sherlock Holmes, Moriarty.
Yes,
Great villain.
Jared Harris, I think one of the most underrated actors alive. Thoughts?
He was fine. Now that you brought that up, I enjoy Jared Harris. Him in Chernobyl's fantastic. I love him as as Moriarty in the Sherlock Holmes film starring Robert Downey Jr. I think he was fine. He wasn't a standout, didn't have the screen time like Matt Smith did or Jared Leto did. Obviously, you got the main antagonist, then you have the actual hero, right? The name of the movie, Morbius. So I do think he was probably second in line behind Matt Smith, although you can kind of find them interchangeable, to be honest. It's not like there were any standout performances here.
Okay.
Any more questions?
You mentioned Leto. And then my final question is, is this the height of cinema, as Martin Scorsese allegedly said, and Tyrese got fooled by it?
Yo, honestly, I was so saddened by the way they handled Tyrese Gibson in this movie. And like Tyrese Gibson, first of all, is an idiot. He is so dumb to think that Martin Scorsese actually said that about his movie. It's just like, how can you be on the internet in general, like Tyrese Gibson has, and been like so dumb regarding these universes and how they're like viewed by the general public? And see Martin Scorsese saying this is the height of cinema. Dude, Tyrese Gibson, like what he's known for is like this charismatic role. Best known for is this charismatic role in Fast and Furious. He has resorted to just a straight arrow cop in this movie. There is nothing special to his character. He initially, as promised earlier on with the promotion of this movie, like nearly a year or two ago, he had a bionic arm in like the trailer. And he teased it. He said, you're going to be amazed by what you see. Guess what? We didn't see it. This movie, total cash grab, doesn't actually fulfill the expectations of the audiences. No mention of Spider-Man. None. This is a Spider-Man villain. He doesn't matter except for Spider-Man. And we're 3 movies in and no one cares about Spider-Man here. Why do we care? Why do we want to keep seeing this movie? Are we about to see a Kraven the Hunter movie and a Madam Web movie without Spider-Man? And
It feels like
no way Tom Holland will be okay with appearing in these movies after what he's gone through with the MCU, right?
Well,
and how it's catapulted his career into a stratosphere, probably better than any other young actor in Hollywood in terms of action star. There's no way he wants to be associated with that. And that's coming from the guy who just started in Uncharted.
I was about to say he's in Uncharted, he's in Cherry. Like he's been in some bad movies. So
Stinkers. But Spider-Man is Spider-Man. That's his baby.
It seemed like this was going to be bad. 7 delays. I know COVID had an effect on that, but even before COVID, when you heard Jared Leto playing Michael Morbius, you thought that was perfect. The comic books, he looks the part. His highs are as high as any actor when he's on his game. Doesn't sound like he was on his game in this one. I will not be going to the theater to see it. That's unfortunate. I love Jared Leto, but this is tough.
Dude,
this is tough to hear.
Jared Leto peaked in 2014. That's it. He peaked.
Yeah, clearly. Yeah.
Like everything post Dallas Buyers Club has been very polarizing or bad. His Joker rendition, mostly regarded as bad. He just won a Razzie for House of Gucci. I actually liked him in House of Gucci. All right. Just won a Razzie for that. Very polarizing performance. He has not been in anything that has been viewed by the general population as good since Dallas Buyers Club. He's just a big name right now, and it feels like every time he's in a movie, that movie under delivers. It disappoints audiences every single time. Are you trying to pull up his filmography right now? I hear you clicking in the background.
Yeah. So I'm looking up his future projects here, and he has allegedly
Tron 3.
Yeah, but he has a Darren Aronofsky. He has a Darren Aronofsky film coming up that he's starring in.
This is after The Whale with Fraser.
Yeah,
Fraser.
This is that could be a comeback. That could be a comeback. Darren Aronofsky is an unbelievable director. And
Jared Leto needs
that could be an element to him to get back in his group. He won't get an Oscar nomination for this, most likely. A horror movie that's on a ship, a fishing boat that discovers an abandoned yacht with a strange distress call. A deckhand agrees to take lone control of it while it's towed into the port, but soon he discovers why it is called a ghost ship. Very freaky. Jared Leto sounds freaky. This does sound like a corny movie, but Aronofsky's writing it and directing it. That means it's going to be it's going to be good at the minimum. So could be a comeback here.
The stick is up. No one believes in Jared Leto. I can't put my faith in him anymore. I'm done with this. He is now tanked. Maybe one of the most famous now critically bashed Marvel movies, and maybe the most famously critically bashed DC movie. You can't trust him in blockbuster movies. You just can't. You think Tron 3 is going to be good? I don't think anyone does.
The Little Things. Remember The Little Things last year?
He got nominated for frickin' Golden Globe for that performance. But Ricky, I did want to bring up something else regarding Marvel and Sony to get off Jared Leto for a sec. Is that okay?
We'll say we crashed the drama series on Apple. Not doing bad review-wise.
What's it at?
7.9 out of 10 for episode 1 and 7.4 out of 10 for episode 2. And this is about Adam Newman. That's pretty good. And next to Anne Hathaway. But yes, go on.
I need to say something about Sony and Marvel and their relationship. And I've been thinking hard about this. This is a one-way relationship. It feels like Sony is being absolutely friend-zoned by Kevin Feige in the MCU.
Without a doubt.
They are just in the friend zone. Tom Holland lent by Sony to the MCU, garnering all the success, has the mind of Kevin Feige at work. And then what are they getting in return? They don't even get to use their own character with Tom Holland. They are dealing with the ramifications of Doctor Strange's spell. We have Tom Hardy, who his chance in the MCU is gone in a blip from the post-credit scene of No Way Home. This is a completely one-way relationship. It's like you have this person, like this. Let's say this is a relationship, and Marvel is seeing Sony. Marvel does not want to bring Sony home to meet the parents. They want to keep them away. There's no way they want to be seen in public together. They're not going to go Instagram official. There is no way. Kevin Feige wants to keep them at a distance. It's fun to hang out on the weekends. Right? We'll go to McDonald's, get some fast food together, but I'm not taking you to a steak dinner. I'm not lending you Doctor Strange into this Sony universe. I'm not ingratiating Venom, Carnage, Morbius into the MCU. This is a one-way street. Accept it for what it is. And it feels like Sony's at the complete, is on their knees and is at the complete will of Kevin Feige. It seems like the entire Morbius movie got switched around because of No Way Home.
So the Colin Coward segment's over. And
is that not accurate?
I think it's accurate. And it just, hey, we reminisce on the time when we thought, hey, is Sony and Marvel MCU going to break up here? And Tom Holland's going to be with these characters, like the Sony characters. Remember that?
It's
like
not
that was
happen.
Yeah, it's not going to happen officially.
I don't think it's ever going to happen, Ricky. You don't get it. I don't think Tom Holland will ever be here. Neither will Andrew Garfield. I think this universe has a stronger chance of having a new Spider-Man or just straight up ending before Tom Holland joins this.
It's tough. It's tough. Craven the Hunter, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Russell Crowe. You're
not going to get me.
No. I'm saying it's tough for this universe. If that doesn't work out,
Dakota Johnson
doesn't work out, then they should not add any movies. They should see how those do. You're saying to cancel it. You can't just cancel these productions. They got to finish them out, and then once they're done, then evaluate.
Hand them over to Marvel.
With what?
The characters, all those characters, give them to Kevin Feige. That's it. I don't trust them. Keep the animated stuff. You did great with Into the Spider-Verse. I'm not sold they're going to slay it with Across the Spider-Verse Part 1. I hope so. If they just let Bill Lord and Chris Miller do their thing,
they'll cook. They'll let them cook.
And it's something so disassociated with the MCU that they're going to do their thing. But everything live action, give it to Kevin Feige. Let them split the money. They know how to do movies. Movies like the one I just saw with Morbius is the reason why people criticize superhero movies and how they're just a cash grab and they're not cinema. That's exactly what it was.
And it didn't come close to Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Only $39 million at the box office opening weekend. So it's not like it killed it. It did well. I will say it did well for an April release coming off of the Batman, right? It did pretty well, but still not what you want to see for a superhero movie. Not with Jared Leto leading it. Not what you want to see. But hey, $39 million, that's still not going to be let's not make these movies anymore.
Won the weekend.
It's more saying, no, we're going to keep making these movies. So I see what you're saying. I just don't see that actually happen.
It was just so plagued by Spider-Man No Way Home. Clearly, it was edited poorly too. It was just clear that they don't have a vision beyond it, and they weren't expecting Spider-Man No Way Home to not perform the way it did, but in terms of the rewriting of it, in terms of what was in store, they were kind of it was more of it was benefiting the Marvel Cinematic Universe and making sure it could have the right continuity when it comes to Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, because famously Doctor Strange was supposed to initially come out before Spider-Man No Way Home. So now it feels like the Sony universe is just responding in a way that it just wasn't beneficial for them at all. So in my opinion, they weren't going to scrap it. They had to release it, and it had a note, has the Marvel banner on it. It's going to make money, but people are just going to rip on it like I just did. So I apologize for starting off the podcast like this, but Morbius was awful. I hated it. Hated it.
Do not recommend.
Do not. 16 out of 100 for me. 16 out of 100. That might be the lowest rated movie in the history of the podcast reviews that I've had. All right.
I think so.